Ready? Yeah? Okay, well, here's the Christmas story. A long time ago, in a land far away, lived a farm cat called Jacob. His job was to catch mice, and he was really good at it. He was fast, he could turn quick, he could jump from high places and land safely. The mice had to look everywhere to make sure he wasn't after them, and they were really frightened of him. Well, Jacob lived in a barn which he shared with other animals. He'd have preferred to live on his own because he didn't like any other animals, really. He thought that cows were a bit stupid because all they did was eat grass all day, and they were big and they could stand on you if you weren't careful, but he made sure he was safe in the barn because he slept in the manger. The best thing about cows, he told you, was because they're so big, they had a lot of body heat, and they helped to keep the barn warm at night. Now, this one night, he was lying in the manger, trying to get off to sleep, but it was difficult because the goats were arguing and butting each other. Fidgets, he called them. They couldn't keep still, and they were keeping him awake. He looked up in the rafters, and there were some chickens and a cockerel. Now, he didn't like cockerels because they woke you up, especially early in the morning. He didn't like them. Now, he was trying to get to sleep, but he shouldn't have been really. He should have been catching mice, but he thought, well, it's dark, it's night, no one's going to see what I'm doing. And he thought about other animals, and his worst animal was a donkey. He hated them because he'd say, they look really nice, big brown eyes and friendly, but they'll soon turn around and kick you. Anyway, he was just drifting off to sleep when suddenly the barn doors opened, in came a flurry of snow, along with a man, a lady, and you guessed it, a donkey. Oh no, thought Jacob, I'll be okay in this manger. The man and the woman walked to the back of the barn, furthest away from the door, and the man got some straw from the hayloft and put it on the floor to make a bed. And the donkey started talking to the animals, saying that he brought this couple, Mary and Joseph, all the way from Nazareth. Wow, thought Jacob, that's strange. That's about 90 miles. Why have they come all this way, and what are they doing here with the animals? Well, he thought, that lady doesn't look too well. And she started to call out, cry out. And he watched over the top of the manger. And then she did a really loud scream. And everything went quiet for a second. And then there was a sound of a baby crying. Oh no, thought Jacob, I'm never going to get to sleep. It's a crying baby now. Well, that got worse for Jacob because the man came over, tipped him out of the manger and laid the baby in it. Well, thought Jacob, I don't think much of this. But as he looked around, all the animals were really quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Even the goats had stopped butting each other. It was a strange feeling for Jacob, so quiet. And then he heard the sound of sheep. What now? Thought Jacob. And again the barn door opened, in come another flurry of snow and some shepherds with sheep. And the shepherd said to Mary and Joseph, we were out in the fields and an angel come and told us that a very special baby was going to be born and be lying in a manger. He's the saviour of the world. And then thousands of angels came singing praises to God. So we had to come and find you, and here we are. And they knelt down by the manger. Even the animals tried to kneel down. Even the cows tried it, but they struggled a bit. Jacob just watched in amazement at what was going on. And then he looked behind him and he saw dozens and dozens of mice. He stared at them. Their eyes flicked to him in, to the manger and back again. And he said, okay, just this once, I'll let you go. So the mice scampered past him and stood behind the shepherds. The barn was silent. Jacob had never experienced anything like it. And soon the shepherds and the sheep had gone, and the mice had disappeared. It had been a special night, and Jacob would never be the same again. The strange thing is, after that night, Jacob never hurt a mouse again. Or he'd chase them to keep fit and to keep up appearances so that the farmer saw him, he'd think he was doing his job. And if he caught one, he'd let it go. He couldn't bring himself to hurt a mice anymore. And he wondered if anything would ever be the same again. Well, the little family, Mary, Joseph and Jesus, they stayed near the farm, and Joseph got a job as a carpenter, and Mary, his wife, looked after baby Jesus. Of course, Jacob, being a cat, was free to roam everywhere he wanted. And what he used to do was climb a tree opposite the little house where Jesus was living with his mum and Joseph, and he kept an eye on them because he thought, after all, Jesus was born in my barn, and I let him sleep in my manger. And it's my job to make sure they're okay. Well, a few months later, when Jesus was a toddler, Jacob was as usual at the tree, and he noticed in the sky this really amazingly bright star. Thought Jacob, never seen anything like that before. And then very soon afterwards, loads of people and animals came. There were rich men. They looked like kings, and they rode white horses. And there were soldiers with them, and lots of servants with these animals that Jacob had never seen before. These animals were carrying luggage and tents. And the animals, he'd say, they had bad breath, and they had a hump on their back. And the servants unloaded the luggage and put the tents up, and the soldiers just stood around with their hands on their swords looking tough. And these rich men went and knocked at Mary and Joseph's door. Jacob jumped up down the tree and ran in front of them, and when Mary opened the door, he ran in. And Jesus was pleased to see him and stroked him, and the men came in, and they said they were Magi, that they came from a long way away, 800 miles away, a place called Persia. And they said that they'd seen this star months ago, and they brought special gifts for Jesus. And you'll know what the gifts they brought are: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. It reminded Jacob of the night when the shepherds had come, when Jesus was born. The Magi said that Jesus was born to be king. Well, the next morning, the servants of the Magi were hurriedly packing up all their tents and their luggage, and they went back to the little house to say goodbye to Mary and Joseph. Jacob had slept in the house that night under the table because he wasn't sure about these Magi, and he wanted to make sure Jesus and the little family were going to be okay. Once the Magi had seen Mary, Joseph and Jesus, they went out again. And they, the soldiers and the servants, all left. Once again, Bethlehem was its usual quiet south. Jacob wondered what would happen next. He didn't have to wait long, because 2 days later, at night, it was Mary and Joseph's turn to be packing up luggage. They were hurriedly doing it. It was quite late, and Jacob was sitting next to the front door. He wondered why they were leaving. He didn't really want them to go. Mary and Jesus both stroked Jacob. Mary said, "We'll miss you. We've got to go. But you won't tell anyone where we're going, will you?" Jacob meowed. That meant, "No, your secret is safe from me." And Jacob sat and watched as Mary got on the donkey, and Joseph lifted Jesus up in front of her, and he watched as they went south towards Egypt. Jesus kept looking back behind his mum, waving, and Jacob meowed a time or two and just watched. Jesus kept waving until they were out of sight. That was a long time ago now, And Jacob often wondered if they'd be all right by themselves, because he wasn't there to look after them. Because they were in a foreign land where they were refugees. Refugees, yeah. But he thought of that night when the shepherds came. And he thought, if God had sent angels to shepherds and guided the Magi by a star, he was sure that God would protect the family wherever they went. And that is the end of the story of the Christmas cat. We're recording it and put it on I'll put it on YouTube clip in case you couldn't hear that because the technology might have cut out. It's been great to be here with you.